called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Balaam and burned incense to graven images. I taught Ephraim also to go, taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I healed them. I drew them with cords of a man with bands of love, and I was to them as they that take off the yoke on their jaws, and I laid meat unto them. When God gives you the comfort, he pulls you in and he embraces you. He pulls you unto himself, and he whispers those kind words into your ear. That love, that's that compassion. That's something that man can't give you. But once that thing is worked in you, you can give that to somebody else. But it has to be worked in you. You have to be willing to go through the process of sometimes scorning, sometimes painting, sometimes just giving yourself away to other things. And you have to realize that was not love. It gave me the temporary feel, but it didn't have the constant feel. It didn't resonate all the time. You know, when you first came to, I remember the day that I got saved. And I remember at first, that first service when they called the benediction, I felt a move in my heart that I could never explain. And I couldn't share that with anybody else in the sense of what I was experiencing. And I remember I didn't go to the altar readily the first time. I went during the second service, and I had such a brokenness. And God gave me something from that day forward, something that nobody else could give me. He gave me such a compassion to actually, every time I went out into the world, I would have this uncomfortableness. And every time danger or something came my way, God would come in, and it was a rescue that he would give me. And then he would give me that sense of peace when I was all in turmoil and I was thinking like, oh God, death was at the door every single day of my life. He embraced me with such a fullness that it's beyond measure. It's beyond words. That is what love truly is. Love has a sacrifice. He waited for them to get it right. He heard them when they sat in Egypt, all them years that they sat there and they were crying out to the Lord and all that type of stuff. And then you remember when they ended up coming into the wilderness, and then they started to complain because it wasn't what they used to. They was used to the temporary. They was used to what satisfied my fleshly desire. Give us the leeks. Give us the sugar. Give us those type of things. You know, it's like coming out into the wilderness and actually taking, you know, when you've had sugar in your Kool-Aid and it actually looks like syrup, and then you got to turn around and it's just like, what I said, your sugar's a little bit high, so you might want to adjust. And now you go to that stuff that's like aspartame, and you like, that ain't that sweet no more. What you mean? I don't like the taste of that. I like sugar. I miss the sugar. I need that. And you turn around and you get those things, or they say like your blood pressure's too high, so you can't no longer have pork bacon, you gotta have turkey bacon. Well, now you feel like some people say it tastes like I just ate just cardboard. Like I just snacked on some reckless jerky. What is that? I'm chewing, but it don't taste like bacon. I know bacon, I want pork. That's what I miss. That's what the children of Israel like. I miss the pork. Give me the pork. I need all of that grease that is resonating on that. Oh yes, it might clog my arteries, but it does my belly something. Good. That's what it does for me. You get in complaint, but this is out to save your life. This is out to help you to get everything back in alignment so that you can adjust and that your body can be regulated. Because I know I turn around and eat those things that I shouldn't be eating because I like snack cakes and pies and cookies and all those different type of things. But it shows up in them places, and my knees hurt going up and down them steps. And I'm parking closer to Walmart than further to Walmart because I ain't trying to walk that distance. I'm tired. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to go get that Hostess cake. Yes, I am. I'm on my way. And then they turn around and say, them pounds add up, and they put you on the scale. They say 165 pounds. You say, whoa, the devil is alive. Now you got to do something about it. There's some things you got to let go of and release so that you can receive. And that's where they got caught up and wrapped at. And it's just like they turned around and like you see other things, you see other people, and you think like, man, they got the glitz and the glamour. Man, I always wanted to be an actress. No, I might not be that good. I want the actress's bank account. Not actually her process, that it took her from sleeping in her car, having to go and meet all those different type of producers and get denied and declined and say you're too big, you're too small, you're too light, you're too dark, your hair's too short, your hair's too nappy, your hair's too straight, your eyes ain't blue, your eyes ain't green. We don't like your vocals, it doesn't align with that. I don't want her process, but I want what she has at the end of that. You have to go through the stages in the process. It's the same thing with love. When you want this to the fullest capacity, you got to learn how to release and let some things go when it doesn't align with what you feel is your ideals of what it's supposed to be. It's not always what you think. It's not. It's a process. This is the stage. God is always waiting there. And we have to learn that people that are coming through the doors, we have to be ready with a word of kindness. And sometimes don't always speak. Sometimes you got to wait and listen. There's an active listening that you have to do. Because I know, because as a mom, sometimes I am listening, but I didn't hear a word you just said to me. And then when it comes down to doing something crazy, like they talking about, all right, bye, mom, I'm going, it's 10 o'clock at night. Now, whoa, what you say? Where you going? What? And who you going with? What? They was like, Mom, I told you. I was like, no, I was listening, but I wasn't actively listening. I'm listening now, so your plans might change. So what was we talking about? You got to actively be listening. God actively listens to the things that we say. I say that when God brought me over into the book of John, chapter 8, verses 1 through 11, when they brought forth the adulterous woman. Y'all remember? When them Pharisees, they brought her forth and talking about she was caught in the very act of adultery. And they was turned around and they was all mesmerized and everything about that performance that she was doing. And they was all turned up in their own flesh. And then they brought her and they just wanted to have Jesus just to turn around and see what he was going to say so that they could ultimately punish him. But when Jesus looked at this particular woman, he saw her vulnerability. He saw her weakness. Sometimes we didn't know that girl might have been doing that. She might have been turning that trick for that buck because that's what she thought to do. She might have had a husband or had no husband, and she's like, I got to survive. I got to eat. This is what I got to do. She didn't know no better. Sometimes we don't identify. Sometimes people don't know no better. You don't know the difference in what to do. You've been out there. Sometimes we are the only book that people will read. And you running around calling yourself being a Christian. If you look like me and you doing what I'm doing, and sometimes a little bit step worse, is that what Christianity looks like? Because I'm already doing that. I need a transition. I need a change. If that's what that looks like, I don't want it. If that's what it's supposed to look like and you jumping over here in every man's bed and you talking about that is love, that ain't what that is. I know what that is. Out of anything you turn around and being convicted about, won't somebody who is a non-Christian tell you that Christians don't act like that? And they'd be like, well, what do you know? And they'd be like, I don't know, but I know that's not what it's supposed to look like. This particular woman, they wanted to identify, but they wanted to accuse Jesus of something. Jesus, to me, actively looked at this woman. He saw her vulnerability. He saw what her weakness was, but he also saw theirs of man. Y'all want to come and y'all want to condemn and y'all want to beat down, but you ain't readily give this woman a word like y'all was supposed to. Y'all the priests, y'all actively, y'all know the word. But yet you want to turn around and pull something from me to make it like, oh, I'm going to say, go ahead and stone her. He that's without sin cast the first stone. Y'all watched it. You stood there. Some of y'all were probably just like, them prices is too steep, but that girl is doing the business. Some of y'all might have been turning around like, I'll just talk to my wife. She'll go ahead and do that, but I'm just going to watch this performance. Some of them was probably like, yeah, I'm going to figure out how to get away from my wife this weekend because I'm going to come and tap that. They standing there, and yet you're doing what she did. You just didn't do the same act, but you did it in your mind. So it was in your heart. So when they stood before Jesus and he said what he said to him, and then he bent down and wrote in the dirt, and then he finally came to the place where every accuser had to back away because now I got to excuse myself, Baptist finger, like, oops, that hurt. Gotta go. Can't live with that one. I don't want to go through that. When people are coming through the door, that's the hardest walk they're going to do in their life. You can go to a lot of different places. I believe people can turn around and go to jail, but they eventually go through like that process, and now you learn what the routine is. But when you turn around and come in the house of God, you don't know what you getting ready to get. You walking in with all this stuff and people are looking at you, and now you're feeling like, dang, I did all these other type of things. What am I supposed to do with myself, and how am I supposed to conduct myself? I don't look like they look, and I don't sound like they sound. And we come every Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, and what other day of the week? This is what we got to do all of this type of stuff. Well, what if I miss a week? They might feel like they're condemned to hell. We got to be ready to give them the word that turns around and says, you know what? It's okay. It's a process. It's a process to this love relationship. You will grow in it. Just continue to keep on, like our pastor continues to tell us. When he stands up, he's just like, keep doing what you know to do, what thus saith the Lord. Don't do your own thing. Just follow the word. Read it. You don't have to understand it. Just read it. Participate. You have to be actively participating. And then when you hear yourself read it and you hear the word read to you and taught to you, now you have to actively apply it. But you have to actively be listening to it. But you also have to actively want this. This is a choice. You have to choose to keep doing this. You have to choose to work in this relationship. You can turn around and think that you can just let it go. But when you turn around and go out, we see certain things that end up happening where some people don't make it back. They don't. They're gone. And then it's just like that. Sometimes we're going to their funeral. Sometimes some of them in the Cuckoo House. Like, we don't know where they're going to end up. But in this, when Jesus identified where this woman was, and when he identified where these men was, he bent down. And bending down before somebody is a humble place. I bent down unto you. Like, I'm not looking above you. I'm not looking over you. He could have been taller than these people. I'm not looking above you because I'm not high and mighty, and I'm not thinking of myself, even though we know who he was. He bent down. And he wrote. And as the accusers walked away, because that's what the devils tend to do, especially when you turn around and you got the power of the Holy Ghost surrounding around you. When you come up in this house, when the power is surrounding all them enemies, they got to flee. They got to wait somewhere else. They got to go. And when he looked back up at this woman, he saw her standing there. He says, where's thine accusers? Like, I'm standing here by myself. Now, I didn't make it here by myself, but I'm glad I made it. When they came to the house of God, when those people who've been living astray in the world, when they came, they made it. They made it. That's all it is we got to stand, embrace, and be ready. They made it. Embrace them with love. Love of words and love of deeds. Give them that. That's what they need. They don't need all your other stuff. I remember years ago when we used to have the homeless people that used to come into our church. One of the ministers would bring them here, and some of them, they were just like, I'm not asking for your food. I'm not asking for your money. Some of them wanted to come in, they wanted a warm place, but you know what? We washed over them with the word, and we washed over them with love. They said, nowhere else did we receive that. But this place gave that to us. We looked past with the smell. The smell of the world is going to be on these people. It's going to stink, and it's not going to look like what you're used to. Some of these people came in with raggedy clothes. Sometimes they came in with everything that they own on their back. Some of these things is things that they thought that they own. When they come in, we're all sinners saved by grace, but when they come in, they're bringing their luggage. They're bringing, this is all I got. This is everything. But when they leave, they should leave a little bit lighter. Not heavy and burdened down after they had spent time here being a couple weeks, and somebody just decides within themselves, because you done walked in with a spirit that you've been lingering around with, but you've been easily to hide through your religiosity. Turn around and it's just like, don't you know we don't dress like that? Don't you know that you're not supposed to say that? You gonna cuss over there, or you gonna look at them people like that? Why are you frowning up your face? Why are you doing that? Well, why are you looking at me, looking at them? Why are you listening to what I'm saying to them? Shouldn't you be listening to the word actively and not sitting back here listening to me? Oh, I'm sorry, you're Miss or Mr. Holier than thou. You know everything. You don't. Now you walking around and sitting there, and now this is adding something that these people tried to leave off. They brought in to leave at the altar, and now you just adding on top of it, and now you're just pushing them back out rather than welcoming them in like Christ welcomed you. You got to embrace people. You have to love them with such a fullness. But when this woman walked away, I know that she walked away into a newness. You didn't have the desire to lay in another man's bed. Why? Because you met a man that gave you compassion. He saved her life. That's what that is. He saves our life through his saving, loving grace. And that is the something to give the people. Sometimes that word that you speak to them can save their life. They might have been contemplating taking it, and it wasn't theirs to take. But from a moment, a small reaction, you can turn around and make heads or tails of that. You can make light. They might just need you to give that conversation or just give that hug that breaks all that other stuff off. The access can just go. They don't care. They love life now. And then it's like, you might have to tarry with that person. This is the part that it becomes in the patience with them. So the part that I just covered with you is not to be boastful, not to think of yourself anything better than anybody like these Pharisees did. They thought that they were better than this woman because they knew the word and her practices were wicked and not right. Don't be that way to people. We're going to go into patience because people are not going to automatically know the whole process to go through. They're not going to know that when life comes and tackles me, that not to give up, keep coming. This is an active choice. This is an active process. This is the process of growing and learning love. That's what it is. You have to want to receive this. You have to actively participate in this. And it's not going to be easy to keep pouring yourself out in prayer and in time over people when they're calling you in that midnight hour, because everything feels like it's topsy-turvy in their lives. It's not going to feel comforting when they feel like, they've been going through all these different attacks. And you know how when it's one of those things when you love on people, but it's as in one of my loving sisters says, hurt people. So people who don't know, but only so much, when they get wounded in the world, because after that zeal burns up. I don't know, when you first come into learning and knowing Christ, you want to get everybody saved. And then you go through that moment of rejection, and now you feel like, I don't think I'm going to do this no more. So you start backtracking and shutting your mouth. You feel wounded, like you feel hurt by it. So to come in and it's just like you tell people, us in the church, we'll tell that new coming baby, we'll just keep on going. Just keep on going. And then they lash out and snap on you. No, you don't understand what they said to me. They smashed this in my face, and then they presented me with information that I didn't understand because they don't know much. We don't know everything. But they might be able to present something else. We can articulate it to them from the Word of God. We know that particular principle. So because we've been through that process. Because there's people that are going to come in that they're your assigned person. That's your ministry. You can identify with what they went through. So that is your person. So you have to have patience with your person. That is your ministry. Now don't waste yourself away. You have to constantly get renewed yourself. But you have to have patience with little ones. We have patience with little kids, some of us, because I can say I am a mom, and I can't say that I always practice the best patience with my children. I am better now, which is oddly strange. It seems like when you don't have that much patience in the early on stage, you gain patience later. But then if you have all the patience in the world in the beginning, you are so stressed out to where it's just like you don't even let them say but so much to you. You will tear them kids down and be like, get out of my face. Why did I have you? What do you want? You're still here. Aren't you moving yet? They're like 5. You're like, Dad, you're not 18 yet. You need somebody else to stay with. Now you want to find babysitters and play dates, and people come to VBS and drop their kids off like you're supposed to be babysitting them, knowing what they dropped off here. Be like, wait, come get that. That's your ministry. Those type of things. Like, you got to practice those level of patience, because it's like a small child going through a process of developing, learning to mature the what to do and the what not to do. So going through this particular word was teaching me the what to do and what not to do. And honestly, when God worked it in me through that particular story that he gave me, and then when he also been working to send me, like having my children and practicing giving them kind words and not over talking them, learning to actively listen to them, not just because they want to do something, but they go through hurts, they go through pains in life. And when I'm not actively participating in giving them my ear, they end up feeling just left out, and then they go and they spread and give it to somebody else, and then that advice that they get is not always the best. Like, especially when they confide in with somebody who might be their age and they feel like their maturity levels align because you agree with what I'm saying. But as an active listening as a parent, I had to learn to actually give them that and actually learn to have the patience, because sometimes my kids, they're not really having a point, but they'll talk so long when I'm just like, I want to do something else. And I'm actively listening, but I get these like ADD moments, and now my attention is gone, and now I'm back, and I'm like, man, you're still talking. But it's going nowhere. And so a couple times I've sped them up like, whoa, what's the point? What are we doing? There is no point. They just need to talk. But it's helping me develop in ministry. It's helping me develop in my career ministry, I can say, like now, because I actually had a kid tell me, he said, you need a raise. You deserve a raise. I said, well, thank you. He said, tell your boss. I said, I absolutely will. And yes, I did tell her. I let her know exactly who it was and what he said and why he said I deserve a raise. He said, you know why? He said, because I have all these people and I talk to all these people, but you're the only person that listens. That meant so much to me. He said, you listen. I give him, with anybody else, that mommy type of advice, but I wait for key points after I've listened, because sometimes people aren't asking for your advice. They just need to vent and get it off. And then you have to wait for that key opportunity, that time to work it in there. Doesn't God wait for us after we lay down our prayers and our petitions unto him and our supplications? Be like, God, I'm gonna need to pay this bill. I need this access because I want to take this trip and I'm going to go over here. Give me the words to explain to the pastor that I really, really, really need this trip. And I need to turn around and be able to get the time off on my boss, but I know she's not going to fall for that one. And I don't want to lie and say it's a funeral because, you know, my grandmother died 4 times last year. So I need something else to turn around and go through. God, I need you to work all these things out. Okay, great. Here you go. Bye. And he's still sitting there waiting for after all that stuff that you done mapped out the line out and it didn't all work out. And now you come back, well, God, didn't I ask you to work that out? I asked you to do this. No, what happened? I'm late on that bill. These bill collectors is calling me. I'm at work and it's stressing me out. You said you own a cattle of 1,000 hills. Well, I'm gonna need one of them hills because I'm broke. I need a couple dollars. Oh, and I want to go out and eat with the girls, so that's the access. Can I have that too? I'm sorry. I'm better now. I'm back. And he's still waiting for his opening. He waits with that patience to say something back. He's waiting to say it. So we have to wait for people to pour out their heart. Give them that expression. Give them compassion. Give them time to wait to get it right. They don't know yet, but they're going to work on it. That is one of the key things, if I'm really giving nothing else, is to just explain this process. It is a process and it doesn't feel great all the time. But be willing to be poured out and invest in people and allow them to invest back into you because people, they need somebody to trust. They need somebody to look at. You got to uphold, and they need you to forbear them and carry them along until they're ready to stand on their own. And now that ministry is sprouting. You see it growing tall. They're past the toddler stage, and now you see them. They're making it off the middle school, and they're about ready. They're just about ready. They're ready to go out, and they're ready for that next person that's going to be coming in so that they can embrace them or they can give them kind words. You can make it. That's what he says to us. You can make it. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I believe all that's here tonight and all that is online, I know that you want to make it and endure through this race and embrace, like fully embrace, look into the eyes of love and hear those words, well done, my good and faithful servant. Because you made it through the processes of love to learn, and well, love and life mainly. You made it through the processes of life to learn my love, my true love, my compassionate love that I had for humanity because I left the 99 for the one I left. Everything for you. I invested in you. Sure, he could have tore us up and left us and like, I ain't creating no another earth, not nothing. When Adam and Eve turned around and got it wrong. When they walked away and they strayed away, and then you think over the time and all these seeds that they produce in us, and we just constantly got it wrong and found other gods to love instead of the creator, the main God of love. So in all of that, just learn that this love relationship has a process, not only with God, but also with man. Because when you learn it through the process of the time yourself, you can learn to love and have appreciation for God's creation, being man. And then ultimately that's giving him back the very thing that he gave and poured out into making you. God bless you all. Thank you, sweet Jesus. Bless your mighty and worthy name, Father God. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Thank you, sweet Jesus. You want me to pray? Thank you, sweet Jesus.
Amen. Come on, get a little another hand clap tonight. Shanika, what did we study it on Wednesday night? What scripture did we study from on Wednesday night? 1 Corinthians 13, taking her too long. The same one she preached from. Yep, so we went down through, we was talking about love. You know, one of the greatest things about love, that love covers. In other words, that love gives you the benefit of the doubt. And then when we miss God and everything, it still covers. Instead of, as your, let's see what